All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CO channel. This is John the Bomb. Building others means business. And I've got another special guest, Anna Maria with the Viti Companies. Don't let her fool you. These actions, you know what I'm talking about here. So, but she's a great lady. I met her a few months ago, and I've been wanting to get her on to the podcast. She's running a great business in the Chicagoland area and obviously doing some great things nationwide. And she'll be sharing with you some of the great things that she did to really start the Viti companies and the brand and what she's been doing in the marketplace. So Anna Maria, thank you so much for coming on the Go for CO channel.
Well, thank you, John, for inviting me. My pleasure.
Awesome, awesome. Well, hey, look, we always like to start with our guests sharing, a little bit about the ideation, how you came up with the idea. Was it a family-owned business? You're taking over second generation or something like that. So take it away. Share with us kind of where the Viti Company's inspiration came from.
Thank you. It was from my grandfather in 1938. He started it. We were Guy Viti Insurance and Real Estate, and my grandfather would give out mortgages. And what happened was there was a fire down the street, and an insurance company came in and said, "Why don't you just start selling homeowners insurance?" So he did, and we are now a full service agency. We're third generation, and what full service means is we can help any individuals and businesses with home auto, business, life, health, employee benefits. We're also a broker, and that means we have represent many companies, and we can shop for you. We just hired the fourth generations, which happens to be my two nephews, and so they are learning slowly on what it takes to not only work in the business, but start working on the business. So
That's awesome.
I've been here. Yeah, it's great. It's been great.
That is cool. I think one of the things in America, right, we're very entrepreneurial. The foundation of our country and people coming over from different countries that came to America and starting their own business is really cool to hear your grandfather doing that and setting the foundation for the Viti family, right?
Right.
One thing that is challenging, though, is that next generation to the next generation to the next generation, right? I know in Japan, there's companies that are 500, 1,400 years old. I mean, it's crazy
Wow.
how their longevity is pretty big and it's multi-generational. So tell us a little bit about, I guess, I'm very curious, growing up in the family where your grandfather built something. Sounds like was it your dad then took over after that, or?
Yes.
So then what was that transition? Because, each generation feels like they put their stamp on something. So let us know a little bit about kind of that transition and how you started to work, almost like you're doing with your nephews.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. So I'm the oldest of six children, and I was really the only one that was stuck coming in after school during high school and college and having to file. Nobody would teach me anything because I wasn't maybe here an hour or two each day. And I really did not like it. But what happened is I graduated college, came here to be a teacher, and started working for my dad just slowly in the summer. And when I was supposed to go back, he said, "Why don't you just quit and work for me?" And so 40 years later, I'm still here and I still enjoy it. We had four people, and now we have 20 and growing. And I'll tell you, it was a little bit hard because I think my father, since I was the oldest, thought that I knew everything. So I wasn't really, it was really trial by error, let's put it that way. My dad was a fabulous networker before networking even was a thing. He networked. So that was one thing that was easy to follow in his footsteps, but leadership. I am the oldest of my family, but it's hard if you do not have education like that. We made a lot of mistakes with staff. Now we have a fabulous staff. But like I said, my dad never hovered over me. He would never ask me, like, why aren't you doing this and why aren't you doing that? It was very easy to work for him. And I feel very fortunate. And he's still
Yeah, I
alive
mean,
today.
oh, that's awesome. Great to
Hmm.
hear.
Hmm.
It's interesting, I guess, each generation also has their own methodology of how they grew up, right? I'm sure he could easily explain how his dad,
Uh-huh.
either put him under the coals or just birth by fire, right? Type of thing.
Mhm.
So interesting side. So did I catch that you stopped going to college, or did you finish and then?
I graduated and I was
Okay.
a teacher for a year.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there was a teacher. So I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, you have a career that most people are like, oh wow, it's a teacher. That's awesome. You get into that mode, but then you switch, right? And you say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm going to be the leader, which being the firstborn always kind of puts that stamp on you. But now you go into the family business. What are two things that I guess maybe came up instantaneously? Like, did you have to negotiate the salary because you just were about to, you're getting paid as a teacher, or did you have to really take the reins of a certain part of the business that helped you grow in that side, or what was your thoughts?
Because we were smaller, well, first of all, I was only making 14,500 as a teacher. So it
Okay.
was very simple. And I'll tell you, my dad did not pay me big bucks. I had to earn it. So that was one thing. And what was the question? What did you ask me to
Just
say?
yeah, just transitioning obviously from having put the time and effort to get a degree, become a teacher, go through
Yeah.
1 year, but now transitioning. Did you pick a certain line in the business that you became an expert, or did you kind of go general and start to learn the whole business?
Yeah. So what my dad did is when I said yes, he sent me to Seattle at the Safeco Insurance Company School for 3 weeks.
Oh wow.
And that
Okay.
was really fast as far as learning it. I mean, it was 24/7 of insurance. Before that, I really didn't know much about it because, again, nobody taught me. But when I got back, I was starting to work in the personal lines department, home and auto. The woman that was here must have been intimidated and she quit and she was there for 10 years.
Oh, wow.
And we didn't have computers. We had one computer back then, and we had to do everything by hand. So since we had several insurance companies, I had several books that I had to look and rate for people's insurance. It was unbelievable. But again, had to learn, I just had to jump in. And I'll tell you also the teaching part, because it seems like there are a lot of teachers that go into insurance later. Um, as you know, I'm sure everybody feels this way. Most people are anxious, they don't understand it. And it's really, I feel I've been successful because I can kind of break it down for people and let them, feel more confident because I try to explain it to them like I would want to be explained something. I tell even our employees, remember, this is like learning a foreign language. A lot of people just don't want to know about it or have never been explained. So,
Yeah, I mean, it's not
Mhm.
the sexiest business in the world, right?
Right,
um,
right.
First of all, people are kind of lulled into it, right? And just they know that
Hmm.
they need it, right? It's part of life. You have to have homeowners, you have to have auto, but then there's other aspects of insurance that you really feel like where's the value, and how do you learn that, and what do you do to mitigate risk, right? So
Hmm.
pretty awesome stuff. So tell me, those first few years,
Hmm.
how long did you really kind of stay in the business with your dad? And what was kind of the focal point of starting to see where you then take, full ownership?
Yeah, I really learned the personal lines inside and out, of course. It wasn't by choice or how fast, but then what happened is I was able to do some of the bookkeeping also because the bookkeeper had retired and we were looking for someone else. So I was pretty lucky. I mean, I was a receptionist first, then I was in personal lines, then I was able to do the accounting. And then what we did is we also started life and health. My dad had done it, but then hired somebody. So, becoming, I'm going to say, in charge or being the person in charge, I was able to dabble in most everything. After personal lines and being the accountant, I went into business insurance, which I am still in today. Life and health, I only know, to be dangerous. My sister works in our office, and she does the employee benefits, so we're good with that. But again, I was able to, because again, my dad kind of stepped back and was very, generous as far as letting me do things the way I thought it should be done. So very lucky.
No, yeah. I mean, it's transitions are hard, right? Sometimes, and
Yes,
letting go, right, from your dad's
right.
perspective, who obviously took over for your grandfather. One of the things that is always very curious in that positioning of, power transition, right?
Mhm.
What are some of the things that you learned? Was it a cohesive, like maybe you and your dad talking to the team, hey, Anna Maria is going to start to take over? Was it kind of a slow? You became so good at what you did that people were looking at you for leadership, those types of conversations. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, we've had somebody here that's been here since she's been 15 and she's 67.
Oh, wow.
But I always knew her as, she always knew me as Gabe, which is my father's name, Gabriel's daughter. But what happened was, is, something I never ever really thought about that, but I am not hopefully an intimidating person or a control freak. So I really tried to get along with everybody, help everybody. And it really just, like you said, it just morphed into, I'm running it and the company. And it really wasn't that difficult. I don't feel like there were any challenges, maybe because I don't think like I'm up here and people are below me. I feel I would even file. It didn't matter. I would do everything. There's no job that was too small. I would even take out the garbage if I had to. So maybe I was able to gain respect early. And most of these people were older than I am because I started when I was about 24 years old.
Mhm.
So there was my father, there was a woman here who's a couple years older than I am, and then there was a gentleman who's probably 10 years older. So again, just tried to put my sleeves up and say, hey, how can I help you? And it just worked out that way. So my dad really is not a person that would have meetings because he really didn't like to do those kind of things, even though he was a great networker. It was really kind of myself that really did it. So, like I said, it was small and I was able to grow with it. I didn't come in here and there were 20 employees. It was like, okay, here I am. So I was pretty lucky for that.
Nice. Nice. So, yeah, growing through that phase of, being an entrepreneur, kind of going into the family business,
Mhm.
learning each aspect of it, and then giving yourself, time to flourish as a leader. Pretty cool stuff, right?
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
so tell us a little bit about, kind of, this day and age, right? There's a lot of technology. There's a lot of ways that people feel like, oh, they can circumvent maybe that human touch. How have you guys, been dealing with that over the last 5, 10 years? And what is VD, the VD company's like approach to maybe keeping it still connected that way?
Well, I will tell you that I know what kind of service I've been getting. I'm going to say the last 5 or 10 years, and it hasn't been the greatest. There's either people that are upset, they don't, maybe they weren't trained properly, but follow up is very, very important. I mean, I have instilled in me, and hopefully everybody here, and I know they do, is, you do what you say. And then maybe, tell them maybe it's going to take 7 days and hey, surprise them and have it be done in 4 days.
Mhm.
Um, I will let you know that I, again, take pride, and that's what I train people as far as, calling the person back, not 24 hours. Finish what you're doing and call them back. Now, remember, we get a lot of emails. I'm sure a lot of other people do too, instead of phone calls. So it's really easy to say, hey, I received your email. I will be getting back to you, shortly. But I don't like to use the word shortly because shortly in a lot of people's vocabulary is in 10 minutes. So really
Yeah,
try
that's
to
true.
manage people. The biggest thing is manage people's expectations,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
with us. Somebody has a claim, a lot of people don't go through auto claims, let's just say every day. so they don't know what to expect. So when they call you, let them know what to expect.
Mhm.
And like I said, we've been successful managing people's expectations.
I like that. I think there's a solid mindset behind that, right?
Mhm.
You're sharing upfront, timelines, talking
Mhm.
about delivering it before, always kind of gives you an extra kudos, right?
Mhm.
Um, and then also walking them through what are the next steps, right?
Right.
Those are different things that not a lot of people do. So it's a differentiator for what you guys are doing, and it's really cool to hear. So the VD companies, has
Mhm.
there always been just that brand, which is obviously your last name, and has that always been kind of the concentration of how you've marketed yourself? Is it a family owned brand that you put out there?
Yes, it used to be Guy Viti Insurance and
Hmm.
Real Estate. And that was my father, my grandfather, and my uncle.
Mm.
Well, they broke apart. My dad did the insurance, my grandfather retired, and my uncle uh, headed up the real estate. Well, he did not like the way we were doing things, so my uncle moved out, and then we were just Guy Viti Insurance.
Mhm.
And then we became also Guy Viti Insurance and Viti Financial Services because we really built up the health, life, disability, long-term care for groups and individuals. Then we had a consultant come in and tell us, why aren't you just the VD companies? Because it's really hard. We didn't want to be divided.
Mm.
VD Financial on one side, Guy VD on the other. The staff did not commingle a lot. We have a two-story building. VD Financial was upstairs, Guy VD was downstairs. So we really wanted to become one. And that's why we changed it to the VD companies, but still using our name.
That's awesome. That's a cool story. So
Mhm.
it took kind of an outside pair of eyes to look
Mhm.
inward and say, hey, this is how you can represent yourself into the marketplace as the VD companies. Okay.
Right. Mhm.
Neat, neat. Now, do you guys still dabble in the real estate, or is it just kind of a
No.
synergy in that aspect, or not at all?
No, we don't at all. We're just insurance products, completely
Okay.
insurance products now.
Okay, awesome, awesome. All
Mhm.
right. So yeah, so tell us a little bit about, I guess, how the team right now is marketing and trying to differentiate yourself in the marketplace. Certainly a lot of competitors out there, a lot of
Mhm.
online companies trying to take market share. What are some things that
Right.
you're doing as a small business owner to kind of stay either connected to your current clients or trying to grow the market share?
Well, the first thing is we have worked with an insurance consultant for almost 40 years. They don't
Mm,
come in every year, but we have them come in every maybe 2 or 3 years and give us a lot of ideas. One of the things is that in insurance, an account manager can only work on a certain amount. And then you either need to get a new one or they need to get rid of some of their clients and give it to someone else. So one thing is our account managers can call people back, can service people how there should be. So that's one thing that I am really, really conscientious about. I don't want anybody, first of all, the staff member to be burned out because they're working on way too much. And then your clients can see that and hear that. Um, Another thing I wanted to let you know is that the biggest thing I would say in the last 5 to 8 years is that these big agencies and private equity firms are trying to purchase insurance agencies of our size. But when they do that, they're looking at the bottom line.
mhm.
Some of the things we do, like we write a lot of startups, businesses, and they're starting up and they're having to tell us what they think their sales might be in the future or what they might be doing. Well, how do you know that when you start up? So we reach out to people 2 and 3 times a year, which if you were bought by a private equity firm or a large agent, they wouldn't let you do that. So even though we are medium size, we are trying to portray that we are small and we can take care of you still. So,
Nice.
yeah.
I like it. I like it. I think that there's a lot of value in that extra touch. In my
Mhm.
day to day on the commercial banking side, I feel like the clients that I have that are with me right now and even prospects, I try to touch them once a quarter.
Mhm.
And it could be an email, maybe an event that we have, an opportunity to grab a coffee or lunch,
Mhm.
go golfing, whatever. So
Right.
those are ways to kind of stay interactive and really, keep on pursuing that relationship. I saw a recent video about someone saying, "Hey, I'm just transactional. I like to do things transactional," and that works for some people. And I'm not saying business has to get done, so it is a transaction, but it's interesting how you can take from your grandfather to your
Mhm.
father to your leadership now. And I'm assuming there's probably clients that we could date back 20,
Mhm.
30 years, right? In that
Yes.
in that
Uh-huh.
time frame. So
Right. Right. We also are consultants. So
mm,
I love it when somebody sends us their policies and we review it. And you know something, sometimes we tell them, stay where you're at. These are some suggestions I would give to you, but I don't want to waste people's time. I don't want to waste their time because to collect all the information and really understand, it takes a while, and that's people's times are valuable.
mm,
But again, if somebody calls us new, I even love that even more because I love to explain to people what they're getting. And we give bare bones and options, and our clients decide. A lot of
mm.
people think, oh my God, I got to get everything now. No, you can always add insurance coverages later, no matter what. So we really like to ease people into this because a lot of people call me and say, I know nothing about this. I said, guess what? You're not the only one. I have clients that are 20 years and still don't really know or understand it. So don't
Yeah.
feel bad.
Well, they're relying on you, right? I mean, and,
Right,
and when something happens, that's when we all freak out and hope that our
right,
insurance is actually well placed and well managed and can do through the claim process, right? From health to
right.
auto to home and all that type of stuff. I think
Mhm.
that's the scariest part is you just sometimes you feel like insurance, you never know if that company is going to truly represent you.
Right,
But that's why we lean on a broker like the Viti companies, right? To make sure that you guys are vetting out the end insurance company as well, right? So,
right, exactly.
and it sounds like Safeco, you said, right, was the where you kind of learned for 3 weeks.
Mhm.
They've been around forever. Then,
Oh, yeah.
it's been a really cool journey that they've been on as well. So,
Mhm.
so a lot of times, growing a business and being that second or third generation talent bringing in because of kind of the old guard, it can be transitionally hard. So has there been anything that you've learned through that process of bringing in new talent? And like you said, you've had a lady right now from 15 to 65 or so.
Mhm.
She's been with you. That can, be transitionally hard for her to be able to, acclimate to some new blood of that's going on. Tell us about from a leadership perspective, what you're doing to help the business grow that way.
Yeah, I mean, I love it. I love having young people here. It's so energizing. I love, I'm not the type that thinks it's my way or the highway. I want to bring in younger people. I want to also have them bring us the ideas because I'm been here for 40 years. And I don't really know everything. I'm not great with AI. I'm not the best with technology, to tell you the truth, but they help us bring us up to the next level. And I'll tell you, like, I'm having a couple of them go to a conference that our agency management software system has every year. And I'm having them go and be able to learn what's going on and bring it back to us. Because again, I don't know everything, but I love it when young people are here. And I'll tell you too, even the people, well, I'm the oldest. Well, no, she's the oldest. I'm second, but she embraces it. She really, really enjoys it. Nobody has, we laugh because we're like, oh my gosh, we used to be like this. But it's just so great to bring all that into the office. I don't want everybody to be like, feel like they're robots or soldiers or, let's have some of these young people, what they're doing and saying. I mean, I like hearing about it. It's great.
So that's interesting. You shared a little bit about the wisdom of letting people be themselves, right?
Mhm.
Giving them some latitude, and
Yes,
even helping them to if they do mess up, right? You've got a longer leash per se, right, and not going to
right.
pounce on them. So what's that been like? Has there been any situation that you could describe on our podcast that you've given someone some latitude of, they made a mistake, but you know that they're going to be a valuable asset to the company if you can help them get through that process?
Yeah, a couple things sometimes, and I think it's just because of experience in the business or the workplace, is, sometimes people have problems and they call us, obviously, and we help them. But sometimes people don't realize that let's give them that extra touch. Let's set a follow-up in our calendar and let's call them after, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, check in on them, see how they're doing. A lot of people call for billing questions or billing problems. And I feel that when we find the solution and make that person happy at that time, that shouldn't be just it. They were very frustrated and upset, and let's make sure that it doesn't happen again. And so I have had people that haven't followed up, it got messed up again, and that, person was like, my staff member was like, oh my God, I didn't really realize that. So that's what I think the biggest thing is following up after the fact.
Okay. Nice. Nice. I mean, on
Mhm,
the follow-up,
mhm,
I remember an old video that I made about that 7 to 8 touches, right, that we all learn in sales.
mhm.
What are some distinctive things that you're doing that you've been able to teach your team to do?
First of all, listen to them. A lot of times we have a really great follow-up system in our agency management system. I mean, it's great because when we send out, let's say have the insurance company add a car, we don't just cross our fingers that it gets done. We have to follow up.
The follow-up side of things, right? What have you been able to do that's distinctive that maybe sets you apart and that
Hard
next
from us.
touch?
Yeah, I will tell you, first of all, when we have people that have a lot of losses like businesses, that really affects the renewal. So
Hmm.
what we do is I try to do it is I get the insurance company involved and they have these experts come out and talk to them. Another thing is that when they are doing that and following along with that insurance company's, it's called loss control, they put it in the client's file. So it makes them look even better, even though they have losses. It's like, oh, okay, they came for help. The agent was able to get them help, and they are trying to, make themselves better. So we really try to work with the insured if we feel that, they're kind of getting in trouble. Like we have workman's comp. We had somebody that had three people like in a row cut their finger. Well, we had loss control go in there and they were doing something or not using the knife properly or they didn't have training or enough training, let's put it that way. They didn't have training. But the insurance company came and gave them like a webinar and some other tools so that didn't happen anymore. So that's one thing we do. Again, like I told you with the startups or even anybody that's growing. Workman's comp and some of these general liability policies are based off of sales and they're also based off of payroll ahead of the game. So how do you really know? And if you're growing, and what happens is after the policy period's over, the insurance company comes back and audits you and says, okay, prove to me how much payroll you had. Well, if you underestimated, you're going to pay. If you overestimate, you're going to get a credit. I mean, I had some guy, we reach out for our larger clients that have a lot of payroll. We reach out to them 3 times a year just to say, hey, this is what you're paying on. Is this still the same? Because we've had people that have said, don't even respond to us. They've gotten a $35,000 audit. Now, what
Wow.
business, budgets for that?
No, no.
So
Well,
we
that's
really, like I
interesting.
said, try to go over and above with all
Yeah.
aspects.
Preventative and proactive, right, came to mind as
Exactly.
far as what you guys are doing.
Mhm.
Interesting. I didn't even know that it's a light bulb moment. Go for CO community. If you're running a business and you're determining something on something that could be variable, for a great company like the Viti companies, you're talking about someone that's interactive, working with you, measuring, letting you know, like, hey, 3 months from now you're going to be renewing. Let's make sure we adjust and give you some sense of what's going on, right? So that's
Mhm.
pretty awesome stuff. So, a lot of times when we talk about, the go for CO mindset, I always like to ask our guests, what are some things that you feel has set you apart from leadership, set you apart from the company, and what are the things that you feel are maybe things that people can learn from that you've been able to achieve?
First of all, I do a lot of presentations because I like to educate. And I know that my staff loves to educate people. We also, like I said, we try to really um, look at it as like a consultant because we know people are, upset about it. They don't like it, anxious. Again, follow up. We love that. Also too, I'm a connector. So for instance, we have a lot of vendors we work with, like attorneys, accountants, marketing people, and we like to go over and above. I don't want someone to just come to me for insurance. I want them to come to us to say, hey, do you know someone that can help me with this? So we network a lot. We also help in the community. So I'm on the board of directors of our chamber. We have other people in our office that are on non-for-profits. So we really try to get our staff not only working, but engaged in other things too. I'll tell you, I feel that if your staff is happier or not so stressed, you're going to be more productive. And that's what we want. And if they're more productive, then they're going to really want to think and help their clients as much as they can. We try to go over
Yeah.
and above.
Well, happiness production makes more money.
Yep.
So, so that's a great combination. So, well, awesome, Anna Maria. I'm always so excited to have small and medium-sized business owners. Pretty cool that this is an interview that has taken us through multiple generations of the Viti companies and the transformation from Guy Viti to the Viti companies and the things that you guys have been able to do. A lot of times we end our interviews with CEO. So
Mhm.
C is for client experience and what the Viti companies bring to the table as far as value proposition in that sense, engagement, and then operation excellence. And I'll repeat those again to give you a heads up. But tell us what, maybe in 30, 60 seconds, what's the value prop for the Viti companies when it comes to client experience?
Client experience, I feel that they were overwhelmed before they called us and they feel very good about what they're getting from us and understand it. And again, we took the time to explain it. So I feel that, like I said, when somebody calls us, they will always feel good and not feel like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm getting. I don't know what I'm paying for.
Nice. So the turnstile effect is not present there. It's a
No.
one-on-one hand-holding,
Yes.
great opportunity. Really cool. And go for CEO community. When you're growing your business, no matter what
Mhm.
generation you are of your business, let's keep that in mind as we get through technology and growing in technology. This is a great way to have a mindset of holding your client's hand and
Mhm.
walking them through what it is that you do, because you do it every day, but they don't, right? So
Right. Right.
that's a big deal. So engagement, you kind of shared, you've got this one tenured employee that's been there for a long, long time. You've got some new blood coming in. They're going to events and they're maybe going to seminars that you're not going to as much because you want to get them involved. What are
Mhm.
some ways that you engage your vendors, your insurance companies, your customers, and your employees from an interactive perspective, or maybe events? Or tell us a little bit of secret of that.
A couple things is I have a couple young, besides my nephews, I have some other young staff members. And what I've been doing is I've been meeting with them every 2 weeks, and we kind of call it leadership. And so we sit down and talk about some of the frustrations they might have with their job or with things that might be able to change or they could change. And also, I try to, after listening to them, try to mentor them. So that's really what I'm doing is like mentoring them. And I'll tell you, it's kind of formal because we write out everything and then I write little notes to them and then I send it back to them and they have to work on whatever we spoke about. And then they come back and they have, the kind of like homework, I'm going to say in a way. And it's really, really helped. I mean, some of the things that they have developed and thought about that they have implemented is phenomenal, especially with our benefits, our health insurance, just to give people at the end, instead of just saying, okay, we're done, they send them a letter and explain to them what they had, which I think is great. Because we didn't have that
That's
before, but
cool.
that was something that came out of this mentorship program that I have.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is really. And again, empowering these young people to go to these networking events, meeting people. You know, I even had one person say, listen, I really don't feel comfortable. Could you come with me? And I did. I came with them a couple times because I've been doing it for so long that, you know, I think we as the boss think, okay, here, go do this. And they're thinking, you know, other things. But I think again, through this mentorship program, he probably wouldn't have come up to me and said that to me if we weren't working one-on-one together. He probably would have went there and been like, you know, I can't do this. And he
Yeah.
wouldn't have told me. So
Yeah, no, it makes sense. I mean, part of the wisdom in that is that you're allowing them to kind of put themselves out there, but you're also supporting them, right?
right.
And part of that, you got to make the time, right, for that engagement and the way that you do things with your employees. So, last one is operational excellence. I'm sure, like you said, it used to be carbon paper and stacks and flipping books and
Typewriter.
tabs,
Typewriter.
typewriters, all that stuff. So when I say operational excellence on the Go for CEO channel, we talk about what are some of the tools, the ways that you guys, measure yourself. What are KPI? Like, what are the things that you're actually using in your agency to help you guys become more operationally efficient?
Well, I'll tell you, we have an audit. We do an audit on everybody once a month. It doesn't matter what day, they don't know, but we have to activity all of and document. And I'll tell you, it really makes people think about it. Also, our emails we check to see how far behind people are. I mean, it's not like we're spying, but we want to make sure that if somebody is so behind, let's have a conversation about it. You might be overloaded. There might be, you know, something you need to learn as far as doing something more efficiently, but that's one of the things that we really do operational because I can't stand over somebody's, you know, nor do I want to, and neither do they.
Mm,
So, I mean, maybe some people might call it micromanaging, but again, we've had a lot of things come out of that and have been able to adjust for that person because they were probably embarrassed to come and say something.
for
So,
sure. I
mhm,
agree.
mhm.
Well, I'll tell you, it's been such a, really dynamic conversation. I really love, the things that you shared, the aspect of multi-generational to your own leadership, and now seeing some of the new blood and your
Mhm.
family and also outside people that are coming
Right.
into the VD companies and exploring their way to make the brand better, right? So, is there any final things or obviously ways to communicate with you? I see the awesome background with the BD companies and the numbers stuff, but any other ways that you feel like people can get a hold of you or your team?
You know, I'll tell you on our website, it says, you know, we can, you know, contact us and that's the best, or even call. I mean, we still pick up the phone. We don't have phones anymore, I have to say. We're getting to the next level. We have Teams on all our cell phones, but we still
Oh,
pick
interesting.
up the phone. I mean,
Okay.
if we have to give bad news or it's more than we say a paragraph, pick up the phone and talk to that person. It's too
Yeah.
much. It's way
Yeah.
too much. So thank you,
Neat.
John. Thank you very much for having me on this. This is
No,
great.
I love it. I love it. This is
Yeah.
really cool. And, I'm glad that you were able to be on here and Go for CEO community. Hey, if you're not a subscriber, become a subscriber to the channel.
Mhm.
Follow the VD companies, do business with them. They're a local brand in the Chicagoland area, but you do business nationwide too, right?
Yes, we can go. We're most states. Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So thank you so much. And, we look forward to, what we've been trying to do, challenge people too, as far as business owners that are guests of ours, is come back 6 to 12 months. Hasn't worked out perfectly. But for all our interviews, we'd love to hear about where the business is going, what the
Mhm.
challenges are, and teach the community about what's going on and how to go for CEO.
Great. Thank you.